It's your weekly breakaway for fun conversations on pro cycling. Come and join us for another ride in the team bus. I'm Matt Harper, and together with my brother Justin, we'll do deep-ish dives on professional bike races, teams, riders, and all sorts of cycling-related stories. And we might just sprinkle in some other shiny pop cultural objects along the way. So jump in the saddle and tighten up those shoes. The road awaits. Allez!
Hello and welcome to the Team Bus. I'm Justin and this is my brother Matt, and today on the bus we're doing a deep dive into the cycling career of the seemingly unstoppable Lucinda Brand. The Dutch woman is in the midst of an unprecedented streak of cyclocross podiums in which she has finished in the top 3 of every cyclocross race she's entered since January 21st of 2024. That's just shy of 2 years, and in those 714 days, she's podiumed 61 races in a row. Look up the word consistency in a dictionary, and you get the point. It's a streak for the ages, and she shows no signs of faltering anytime soon. If her recent performances in the 25-26 cross season are any indication, she's won 17 times this season on 20 starts, and the 3 non-wins, all seconds, unsurprisingly. She's an unstoppable force that we're happily going to go get run over by in today's show. We'll also have a roundup of news stories from around pro cycling, and as always, we'll finish out with more adventures in the cyclocross model Broom Wagon. Allez! Well, Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome to the show. This is our first episode of the Team Bus in the new year, and we are going to be talking all things Lucinda Brand and a little bit of cyclocross to boot. So, Matt, where would you like to start?
I put together a little bit of an overview of cyclocross that might be helpful for listeners who are not super familiar with this sport. So
I like
if
that idea.
you're good, then I'll start there. Cyclocross is its own sport. It's done on bikes, but it's much different than road cycling. It's on a contained course, mostly off-road kind of a course, and there are multiple cyclocross courses all over the world. They're usually like 2 to 3 miles long, the courses, and the races are typically at the top level. The races are typically like an hour long. So rather than doing a 4-hour stage of the Tour de France or a 6-hour, spring classic, long ass 1-day race where that kind of like long-term fatigue is part of the strategizing. This is much shorter. Fatigue is also a strategy because obviously if they're only racing for an hour, they're going way harder. Over that hour. So there is a fatigue element that comes in, but it's a bit different. And yeah, so that's basically it. You're doing 6 laps of a closed circuit kind of off-road course on bikes that are very similar to road bikes. They have drop handlebars. The setup, the geometry is a little bit different. But that's the sport. It's really exciting. It's a super cool sport. It's not very big over here in the States at all, but as with all things, it's kind of gaining popularity. But it is huge in the traditional, cycling countries of Europe, namely Belgium, the Netherlands, France, etc. Huge sport over there. And as we've seen on both the men's and the women's side, it is very fashionable these days to have a professional cycling career that includes many different disciplines, of which cyclocross is a big one, especially for, again, riders that are from those countries. So you see Mathieu van der Poel, the Dutchman, Uh, on the men's side, absolutely dominant and just a luminary on both sides of the, cycling coin there. And Lucinda Brand is just a monster on the cyclocross side. She's no Vanderpool on the road. And I can get into a little bit about, what her road career has looked like in comparison. But there are other riders. Wout van Aert comes to mind. He's a big one. And
T-Bonies,
and then, for the women, obviously,
Puck
uh,
Peterson.
Ma- yeah, Mariana Voss is huge in the
Yes.
cyclocross and is just one, probably has a palmares in cyclocross that rivals Vanderpool's. Maybe not with all those world championships in a row, but nonetheless. So that's cyclocross. I did dig up some stuff that you might find interesting just about the origins of the sport. If you wanted to hear that.
I do.
Uh,
One thing I wanted to note when it comes to cyclocross, if you've never seen it, is it is unlike normal cycling because there are, you know, there's like almost like obstacles on the
yeah,
course.
you can call them obstacles, I
Yeah.
would say.
Where they'll have like almost like steps, like log steps that you need to go
Oh,
up, and
they'll have
obviously,
some of the races they have like full blown like steps, like
yeah,
wooden steps with like grips, like they're made for it's like you get to the top of the steps and there's a platform and then you're riding down
yeah,
like
and you are
a ramp.
you're meant as a rider to pick up your bike, throw it on your shoulder, and run up the steps. And there's strategy involved in some of these, um, you know, sections of these race courses where there could be sand or mud or something that is very inconducive to riding, and you have to make a
Yeah.
choice on whether or not you want to stay on your bike, try to keep
Rocky
upright,
sections.
yeah, or pick up the bike or run beside your bike, or what you have to do. So there's a lot of, it's not just one or two different strategies. There is a plethora of strategies that you need to enlist to be able to gain the edge on your opponent, because you don't have as much time. You don't have as much, ability to create space, as
Well,
often. So you really do have to be, on your game and very situationally aware in cyclocross. It's a very interesting sport, but yes,
yeah, lead changes can happen like very quickly too in
yes,
that sport because of these obstacles. I mean, you can hit something and come to a dead stop, and it can take you 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds to get rolling again. And in those 5 seconds, your competitor who is just dangling off the back of you is now just blown past you because they've been able to navigate that particular feature or obstacle, the proper way. It's just the whole course is fraught with
yeah.
opportunities to just run off the rails. Um, and
And there's also
it's
like a pitting uh portion of it where you got to go in and get a clean bike or a fresh bike, and or a new wheel, or you've
and
got a
oftentimes
puncture. There's
that area is like if you're not in the pit, if you stay on the race course at that moment where the pit occurs, sometimes that can be a very strategically advantageous spot because it's often kind of flat, because the pit area is kind of flat because they've got all their stuff set up there. And so, if you're trying to capitalize in a situation and you know that your opponent is pitting, there's an issue with their bike, you're going to hit that flat little thing in like a dead sprint, and you often see riders basically go into a pit area even, and when they're coming out, the one that didn't have to pit is 5, 6, 7 seconds ahead, which makes a huge difference. So the origins of this sport, it goes back to 1902. Is the first French national championships of cyclocross racing. 1902. I would not have guessed that. But what it came from was like early on in road cycling, these racers would go out and do these stage races, and there was no infrastructure like there is now. They had to get their ass to the next town down the road by the next day. And so these guys would basically, they created a game out of it. They kind of gamified it so that like they would race each other after the race to the next town. And there was kind of no rules. So you could go overland, you know what I'm saying? And I never knew this word came from this, but it's called steeplechasing. Have you,
yeah, I've
so
definitely heard of it.
like I always thought of steeplechase as like this horse race
Yeah,
where you're going over jumps out in the field, but it comes from the idea of trying to make your way to a town by following the steeple, which is always the tallest thing in the little town, is the steeple. And so you're chasing the steeple. I had no idea. I'm 55 years old and I literally never knew the origin of that term and I love it, steeple chasing. And so yeah, these guys would they'd have to carry the bikes. The carrying of the bikes is called portage, the forced running sections of these races. And because this was happening in the winter months between the cycling season, it was a way that riders could stay in shape. Um, and the running sections were added largely because of the temperature, because it would be so cold that if they were just on their bikes the entire time, their toes would just become blocks of ice. And by running, they could get more circulation into the lower limbs and the legs and stuff, and it kind of kept them warmer
Bread
overall.
of
So
necessity. That's
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, it's just wild. So in the 1910s and 20s, it starts spreading throughout Europe. Octave Lapisse, Tour de France winner in 1910, attributed his win to his off-season cyclocross participation. Um, and once he was like this luminary, like early figure in cycling. He won a bunch of tours, and him giving that endorsement in some interview or something like that really sort of put the sport on the map in a big way. Internationally. UCI came on board in the 40s. The first world championship is in 1950 in Paris. And then in the US, the first US national championship was 63. Kind of went for a few years, had a hard time sort of locking in, but it restarted in 75 and it's been going ever since over here. So super cool sport. Let's get into Lucinda.
So, I think hopefully that sets the stage well enough to make, to make it obvious that, you know, dominance in a sport that has so many modifiers is not always easy. And unlike Matthew Vanderpool, who is very dominant in cyclocross, Lucinda Brand is 36. Am I correct?
I think so.
Okay. So, she is definitely in the latter half of her career as a professional racer. And the fact that she has brought this level of dominance and consistency into cyclocross in the last couple of years is a testament to how hard she works. You know what I mean? And, going through all of her stuff, and watching, how she races. I mean, this was not her original focus. I mean, it's something that she definitely focuses on, but one of the big things is that, she has, chosen to put more focus into it in the latter half of her career, and it is paying off in dividends for her because what she's done over the last 2.5 years is nothing short of amazing. I mean, 61 podiums in a row. She had like a 17 race win streak that just got broke. Like, I know she just she just came in second yesterday, but it's unbelievable that the 36-year-old is outpacing every single rider by just huge amounts. I put a chart in there that kind of shows all the current riders. So there's also three different, like, cyclocross events. You have the Super Prestige, which is a series of 8 races, the X20 Trophy Series, which is 8 races, and then the World Cup Series, which is 11 races. So you have
Right.
3 different kind of like sets of races that they can be in a given week.
I liked learning about that. Just I sort of was tangentially aware of that, but now that I spent the time preparing this week that I did, it's kind of cool. It's like contests within a contest in a way. You know what I mean? And they kind of all from what I can tell, they all kind of race them all. Like it's
Mhm.
just 3 different prizes that you can get over the course of the year, which I like. I think that's very cool.
But when you look at where she is, so at her racing age at 36, She is by far the number one racer across the three, that's racing currently. Kaylin de Carmen Alvarado, who's 27, is second, and her win rate is like half of what Lucinda Brand's is.
Yeah.
Fen Van Empel, 23-year-old, she's third. Ingen van der Heijden is 26. She's in fourth. So, you can see here her peers, her Sana Kant, who's 10th, is 36 as well. But she's basically racing on people or racing against people that are a decade younger or more. And yet
It's
she's
fascinating.
still so dominant.
Yeah, it's fascinating to me how it just seems like on the women's side of the sport, older women, like, comparatively older riders on the women's side are able to get bigger results. Like you don't see any, I don't feel like on the men's side, the women's side, I mean on the men's side, you don't see 38, 39, 40-year olds like being dominant in any way.
I mean,
Um,
it's hard to say if anybody be dominant on the men's side with how dominant that Matthew Vanderpool is. It's
yeah,
he skews all your statistical data by a
right.
large margin.
But even on the road side of things, I'm thinking about, your Pauline Ferrand-Prévot's, your Mariana Voss's, when Annemiek van Vleuten was in. I mean, she went out with a world championship win. Like she was absolutely dominant up until like 40 years old, um, just destroying people. Like you don't see that on the men's side. I don't feel like I can't think of
Do you
anyone.
think
I
it? Do
mean,
you think it's a tactics thing that like as they get older and they get a little bit more race IQ that
I don't know.
it's
I really,
it's very interesting with Lucinda and going back and like watching her race. She's really good at it. Like she's a super clean rider when it comes to how she wins. And you know it's nuts. It's weird because it's when you have Tadej Pogacar on the men's side of cycling and people like Lorena Wiebes, and these are people that they kind of are in this one mold, and you kind of know exactly what they're going to do. And in cyclocross, you can't just be a one person thing. Like you got to be a total all arounder. And I think that's why it suits all arounders like Vanderpool, like Van Aert, like Thibaut Nice. These are all around racer guys. And I
mhm.
think, and, Voss is the same way. I think that's why it suits them is because you need to have a lot of different tools in the toolbox to be really successful at cyclocross.
Yeah, I was actually going to mention earlier when we were talking about something that like because of the nature of the sport and the course layouts, there's 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 extra skills that you have to develop that you would never really use in a road race. For example, um, sometimes they'll be going down like a downhill that's really really sandy, purposefully sandy, and it's meant to you got to hold on. And one of the things that you'll see riders do, I love this, is they'll full blown like pull their foot out of the pedal and hang their leg off as like a counterweight, like
Like a
purposely
like a
have
like a
one.
kid would do.
Yeah, yeah, just not like going around a turn, but just to keep so that they can kind of keep balance better. The bikes are very very light in cyclocross because they have to be carried during the
Mm-hmm.
portage sections, and so you sometimes can't rely on the bike to have the weight to give you the sort of centrifugal movement or whatever it is that you need, and so you've got to really alter your own physical geometry in certain situations. Um, I at some point would like to talk about the most recent race that they had where Brand took second in Zonhoven. Did you get a
I
chance to
didn't
catch
get
up
a
with that
chance to
race?
watch it. No, I didn't. But
Yeah.
let's so before we go there, I mean this Lucinda Brand's no slouch on the road either. Okay, so her top results according to PCS, um, she won the Classic Lorient All right, back in 2014. She has won the GC at the International Lotto Thuringen Ladies Tour. She won the Tour de Suisse. She's won Omloop. She's won the Ballot Ladies Tour. She's won the Tour of Scandinavia. She's a three-time stage winner of the Giro d'Italia Femme. She's a three-time stage winner at the International Lotto. Uh, she got second at the Sparkassen Giro, second in Amstel Gold, second on GC in the Madrid Challenge by La Vuelta in 2019, which I assume was the ladies' Vuelta back then.
And you left out Dwars, Dorhet, Hageland. Basically, she's won four GCs. She's won uh, two big spring classics, three Giro stages. For sure, no slouch on the road. Although this past season was a bit of a, I don't know that I would call it a disaster. When you look at her spring campaign after her incredible season doing cyclocross last year, she only started six races over the course of less than 2 weeks. Her best finish on those six races was a lowly 29th in Dwarsdorp Vlaanderen. Now, maybe that is, exactly what she is planning to do in that time. She's coming off of all of this output over the cross season, basically being the number one rider for that entire time, and there's no possible way that she could maintain. However, you look at like a Mathieu van der Poel, and that man manages to race all season long in the cross season. Now he's not doing all those races that she's doing. He's keying in on the biggies. Um, Certain
And he
ones he's
starts
racing.
later than she does.
Right. He's racing like once a week, so he's definitely not putting as much, through his body as she is. But, obviously that man dominates the classics. So that might be a function of age. I don't know, but it's I'm hoping for better things for her in the spring classic season on the road this year. But you're right. She certainly has a palmares that many other riders would be quite jealous of when you look at her road palmares.
Absolutely. Now, when you get to the cyclocross side, it's a little bit different. It's and where a lot of those wins on a road Palmares are fairly old at this point. You know what I mean? There's some more recent stuff, but a lot of
Hmm.
it is in the teens and early 20s.
Hmm.
Um, she has won the Citadel Cross five times: 18, 19, 20, 21, and 25. She won the cyclocross at the border. All right, four times.
You
So,
don't have to read this entire thing.
so
She's got literally like dozens and dozens of wins. I mean, in her career, she's got what, 80 something wins?
yeah, I mean it's nuts. Plus a world championship. So it. I think more to your point from just a minute ago. It's considering the amount of success she has here. I mean, putting more focus on the cyclocross makes sense because she's been doing so well, especially in the last 3 years. It's like considering that this streak, she broke. It was Marianne Voss's record of 51, I think it was, or 50, and she broke that earlier this year. And I'm sure
Hmm.
that was a goal leading up to it. But now it's like, you know, I would want to keep. I would want this. I would try to get this streak going as long as possible.
Oh,
Make it
for
something
sure.
that's impossible for someone to break in the
Hu-
future.
100%. Like that would definitely be her focus. But I mean, I'm sure that her road contract pays a lot of the bills and, certainly occupies her throughout most of the year, and does keep her in shape for the cross season. Um, so But I agree. I would definitely do that. Now, speaking of the world championships, I find it surprising that she's only won one cyclocross world championship. Doesn't that just seem completely incongruous to you?
So what I'm wondering is if it's a timing thing. If it like does it coincide annually with
No,
something?
it falls right at it comes at the end of the
So
cyclocross
just like
season.
it does in cycling.
Yeah, so last year, did you catch the end of the race last year? We talked about it on the show. I recall talking because as soon as I rewatched the finish, I was like, "Oh yeah, I remember that
I
distinctly."
I know that I watched it, but I can't remember what happened.
Yeah, I think we must have covered it because it was her versus Fem Van Empel. Of course, you had the Dutch podium there with Puck Pieterse in third,
Yes.
but they're all in the orange. Anyways, the end of the race at the very end, it's like a little uphill bump, flat right turn into the finishing straight, and when they came up, she had to take her foot out for a half second to push up off the top of the thing. She didn't quite power up enough, and in that last second, Van Empel came right past her on the left, beat her into the corner, and won the race. So it's like a tiny, tiny little mistake. And Brand was like really upset after the race, kind of
That's what I remember.
crying on the podium. And if you don't dig deep enough, it could come off as like she was mad at Van Empel for some kind of race tactics. But I watched all of everything with that, and basically what happened is there was like a downhill, kind of one of those sandy downhills, hard to control, and the established line coming out of it, over the course of all the racing was on the right hand side, so they're both gunning for that line, and they were kind of even going into it, and Van Empel sort of had the inside, so Brand was against the fence, and she lost a half second. It, it didn't really matter because she kind of was back into it like a little while later, but I mean, they were neck and neck right up to the closing corner, to go in the finishing straight. So, but some people were saying that she was upset about it. But the quote that I found after the race, she said, "I was just trying to go on the sloping side. Only then she drives me very skillfully into the fence, so to speak." So basically, she acknowledged like it was a skillful move. That's cyclocross. She got me into the fence there, and that's what happened. So she was upset, but she didn't seem pissed off. She's going to get her chance to get a little redemption on Saturday, January 21st, as the cyclocross women's world championship, and the men's is on Sunday.
That is very soon.
So, yeah, one would think. I mean, I kind of can't wait. I want to see her get number two real bad because
Well, especially after, you know, all of this. You know what I mean? After everything that's been going on and her breaking, Marion Voss's record and all the success that she's had. And I mean, the win streak inside of this podium streak was ridiculous too. I mean, it's
yeah, 13. It was 13 in a row. She has
that is
17,
nuts.
17 total this season with 13 in a row. Um, did you see? Just you didn't catch up with the race this weekend?
No, I did not. I didn't catch up
I,
with the
I
race
just
this weekend.
I caught the a still frame of it on something I saw on YouTube or something, and there was snow everywhere, and I was like, okay, I need to take a peek at this thing, and it was nasty.
Oh yeah, I caught bits of the men's race, and I have this to talk about in our news roundup, but it was like it was hard to find video when I had a time to be able to watch it, and
I found it on Tiz. It was like
I didn't even
G to
think
G
to
to
look at
G on
Tiz.
Tiz, like perfect.
Yeah.
I'm going to send you just a quick video from it. It was really fantastic. It was an incredible race. Like it was neck and neck, and this time it was Brand, Alvarado, and Peters,
Puck Peters.
and Alvarado won. But I mean, there was just like lead changes, like going like crazy. I mean, Peters was leading for the vast majority of the race. She came out of the gate white hot and stayed ahead the whole time. But I mean, there were just obstacles galore. And in this clip that I sent you, in one of those very sandy little downhill sections, that just like suck front wheels into them mercilessly, you will see one, two, three. Each one of them just crashes in succession. Like Petersa hits the corner first, and just like boom, front tire comes to a dead stop. She flies over the handlebars. Brand is right beside her. She's trying to avoid Petersa and just kind of keep it upright. Boom, her tire gets sucked up over the bars, and she ends up down towards the bottom left of the course. And then Alvarado was thinking that she could go around Brand to the left and is basically committed to that side. Well, when Brand falls, like she flies, her bike flies over to the left, and Alvarado has no choice but to just go headlong into the barriers. Looked like those barriers are like really, really, really thick. Thick and well padded, thankfully, because they all just like popped right out of it and kept on going. But it's just
That's
crazy.
that is crazy how they all went down in that same section.
Yeah, it's wild.
It's well,
It's a wild
what's
sport.
really cool is like she totally like tries to help her out of the barrier too.
Yeah.
She's like trying to make sure she's okay. Like she puts her hand out. That's wild.
Yeah, it was crazy. The race dynamics were just changing constantly. Every big lead change in this race became because of some kind of mistake or wobble, somebody slipped out on the snow. I mean, Brand looked like she had it absolutely sewn up with like 2 minutes left in the race. Um, and she was out front of Alvarado by 10 bike lengths, let's say, and she comes around a little left-hand bend and she kind of goes out of the camera shot, like Alvarado is right behind her and the camera person just sort of kept it on Alvarado for a while. And when it swings back, you see that she's just like somehow off the side, she's out of the road, and she's like got a foot out up against the barrier. I mean, she was just like by herself coming around a easy little left-hand bend, but there's snow on the ground, it's wet, and like in a blink of an eye, she's off the side. Alvarado comes past her. She makes a miraculous like comeback and is back on Alvarado's wheel after this incident. But she can't catch back up. Like she runs out of time. She runs out of race course. Like, she's just there's only so many, more obstacles left after that. And she also knew that Alvarado was the better sprinter and probably would have lost anyways. But um, pretty awesome.
Um,
Awesome sport.
yes, and what a win streak. One other kind of personal note for her: she is a fellow podcaster. She does have a podcast that she does. Um, it looks like it's. I didn't see if it was on the audio platforms, but it's definitely on YouTube for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's on the audio platforms as well. I I mean to catch up with it at some point. I wanted to just give a quick mention of her mental fortitude. I read about how at the second race of the year, second cross race of the year, which was just early in December, it was in Sardinia. Um, the press noticed that she was very emotional after the race. I think I think well, she had either won or gotten second in the race because that's all she's done this year. Um, she appeared emotional, but she didn't say anything more after that. Outside of saying that her emotions were due to a situation back at home. We later learned that her mother had in fact passed away, but Brand chose to continue the 2025 season. I mean, she's in the midst of a historical streak, and I'm quite certain her parents would have wanted her mother would have wanted her to continue racing. Um, and so, in the midst of losing her mother, at the age of 36, she still is out there destroying the field every time. I would imagine she probably channeled some of that sad
Hmm.
energy into the bike, but takes a lot.
Yeah, that's
She's not
amazing.
just
That's
not just a
crazy.
great physical champion, but you got to have mental fortitude to go out there when the temperatures are below freezing in some cases, and you're on a bike.
Yeah,
Like,
it's absolutely crazy.
in the mud and the
Absolutely
wet
crazy.
and everything. I mean, it's just some of those days. It's just got to be so nasty going out there thinking, "Oh my God, this is going to be brutal." But they're top athletes. They're probably more likely. They're probably chomping at the bit, like I can't wait
Dude,
to destroy.
I was watching Vanderpool like blowing in his gloves, like to get some hot air into on his fingers. Like,
Brutal.
yep. Well,
Well, I certainly enjoyed learning all that I did about cyclocross and about Lucinda Brand. I love that like we've got this little like 2 month long sport that takes place in the winter that we can kind of check in with, and we don't have to be anywhere as nearly as intense about it as we do with the road cycling, but like it'll still scratch the itch slightly.
I feel like if it was more accessible, like for whatever reason, I think it's all on flow bikes, of course.
Hmm.
At least here in the U.S., if it was more accessible, I think I'd probably watch more of it come the winter time. So I don't know. Could be end up being like cycling for me, where it's a slow burn at start until it becomes a big fire. So who knows?
I'll put it to you this way. Most of the bike races that I watch over the course of the year on the road, I watch in replay. I watch them
Yeah.
at 11:30 at night when I get home from work, and I put them on in the background, and I'm doing something else on the other computer, but I got one eye on them, and I catch all of the main action. That is exactly how I like to enjoy a replay of a cyclocross race. I throw it on one screen. I'm doing other stuff, but kind of keeping an eye on it. They're exciting races, and if you get a good one at the end, watching it at the end when there's a few people locked up going into the final kilometer, let's say, second half of the last lap, like it's fun,
Yeah, it gets
and
really
it
exciting.
and it definitely scratches that itch that I have all winter long waiting for the season to start up again. So yeah, so it was enjoyable for sure.
All right. Well, on that note, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back. We'll jump into our news roundup. We're going to talk a little cyclocross. Then we'll talk about some other stuff going on in the main pro peloton. And stay with us because we'll be right back.
Don't miss Beyond the Slipstream, our weekly companion podcast to the Team Bus, our domestique, if you will, dropping every Saturday in your usual podcast feed.
Welcome back. All right, we are going to get into a news roundup. Like I said, we're going to start with some cyclocross news. But just for comparison, Matthew Vanderpool has won all but one cyclocross race that he's entered in the last 3 years. All
Wait,
but
say
one.
that again.
He has won all but one race that he's entered in cyclocross in the last 3 years.
Crazy.
It's
Talk about consistency.
insane. Won again over the weekend. He's won every race this year. He is undefeated in every race that he's entered so far this year. Now, him and Wout both crashed this weekend in the exact cross race. Wout did not finish and has a sprain and a small fracture and will require surgery. So his cyclocross season is done.
Ah, man.
So it's minor. Everything's minor, but it's still going to set your training back. It's still going to, it's not good. I did, if you're interested, put in the video links to both of their crashes.
Neither one of those would play for me, so I'm trying to look it up. I found a different video.
Yeah, those were early on that day, so you could probably find much better videos now.
That is some craziness. Like that snow is coming down.
Yes, like
Vanderpool's
it's full on snowing.
Vanderpool's crash looked like,
Yeah, nothing. Wout's really didn't look like anything much either.
can you, oof. Yeah. That is just unpleasant to be riding a bike on that, trying to race on those kind of conditions. Is
on
just
that
nasty.
surface too.
And they're
Oh.
in, and Wout's in shorts. I mean, Vanderpool's he's got his ankles uncovered. Wout's like in shorts. Oh, so yeah, Wout crashed on an asphalt section and landed on his tailbone.
Yeah.
What did you say happened to him?
All that I read, it said that he
Some kind of fracture?
had as a sprain and a small fracture,
Mm-hmm.
and that it would require some amount of surgery, but that it wasn't like serious.
Wow, but it's just like once again, Vanderpool has a way of just barely getting touched,
Yeah.
and Van Aert, it's just every single one of them is just causing mayhem. one way or the other.
He is Vanderpool's something else, bro. He's
I mean,
like
wow, was so far out of it by the time that happened in this race. Like,
yeah.
wow.
All right. So the start lists for the Tour Down Under are coming out. So we know who the hitters are going to be for everybody. If you're interested in hearing,
Go ahead.
so UAE will have last year's winner Narvaez. Excuse me. Adam Yates, Jay Vine, Mikkel Berg, Milano, and Oliveira. That's a team that seems to be designed to win that race again. It seems like that's a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Really, the only big rider from Alpecin is going to be Plowright. Bahrain is bringing Boitrago and Stannard. Decathlon is bringing two of their big riders from last year, Nicolas Prudhomme and Andressen. This is something that's totally wild that I did not know. Do you know that there is 2 Jefferson Cepedas in the Pro Peloton?
No.
Okay, so listen to this. EF has Jefferson Alexander Cepeda and his cousin Jefferson Olivero Cepeda rides for Movistar.
That is nuts.
Isn't that crazy? EF will also have Harry Sweeney and Luke Lamperti riding for them, so they got a nice squad going. Groupama is bringing Remy Cavagna. Ineos. So right now UAE team to watch. Ineos is going to be a team to watch. They've got Haig, Swift, Watson, Welsford, and Kwiatkowski.
Mm-hmm.
There's some hitters on that team. Little Trek is bringing Gianni Mosca, Sobrero, Baggioli, and Tim Torn Teutenberg. Lotto will have Taco Vanderhorn, Lenny Van Etveld, and Zimmerman. Movistar, like I said, is going to have Jefferson Cepeda the other. NSN Cycling is bringing Sam Bennett, Clark, Stewart, Strong, and Ethan Vernon. Red Bull will have Finn Fisher Black, Lawrence Pithy, and Dirty Danny. Soudal's going to have...
So Van Poppel will be getting his first yellow card of the year next week?
Probably. Soudal's going to have Dionysi, Eichhorn, Pedersen, and Filippo Zana. Jayco is going to have O'Connor, Luke Durbridge, Luke Plapp, and Mauro Schmid.
That's a squad right there.
Yes, big time. Casper Van Uden is the only real big rider coming for Picnic.
I think there's like one sprint in this thing, right? Isn't there like one big sprint? That's why Milano's there.
Well,
that's where...
he's going to have to compete with the likes of Mr. One Matthew Brennan from Visma Lisa Bike. So we get our first crack at Matthew Brennan at the Tour Down Under this year.
Why didn't you put them on the list?
He had a second, huh? They're 16.
Oh, there it is.
TVL. Hagenes will also be there with him. Uno X, biggest name for Uno X is Kron, or at least of the ones I recognize, because like all those dudes have crazy names. No one really big from Astana. Tudor's got Meyerhofer and Stork, and the ARA Australia team has Chris Harper. And if you're interested in seeing the full list, it's there. We can include it in the show notes.
So there's no one big going from XDS Astana. That means they'll get like 6th, 9th, and 11th.
Probably. So, going into the news roundup, Quinn Simmons went on record as saying that he wants to conquer both the summer and the winter Olympic Games. All right. So obviously he's targeting the American Summer Olympics in Los Angeles for he's looking for a to medal, but he is also looking to medal the Winter Olympics in 2032. I believe
Yeah,
is
four
what.
4 years because this year's Winter Olympics year, right?
Yes, this is a Winter Olympic. Well, it'd be 2 cycles. So this is 26. So maybe it's 2034. Sorry.
Yeah,
So he's looking for 8 years.
2034.
Yeah,
Oh wow.
2034. And I didn't know that he competed in the sport, but apparently this was his original sport.
Well, I'm already like on air production meeting. Let's do a segment on ski mountaineering,
Yeah, winter ski mountaineering.
if
What
only a brief one. I can imagine what it is. I do not know what this sport is.
I've never heard of it before I saw this.
So, and I don't want to get spoiled. So
Yeah.
let's
Let's
table that conversation. But I want to do if only a brief segment. But hey, I'll do a rider profile of Quinn Simmons. I'm fine with that
yeah,
too.
all
He's
day
a
long, all day long.
interesting cat. We should do that.
I just winter ski mountaineering just sounds cool as hell. But apparently he excelled in this sport before cycling. This was something that he did early on.
Mm-hmm.
So
Speaking of cross-disciplinary athletes,
yeah. Tim Merlier is considering switching his focus from a pure sprinter to an all-arounder, with his sights set on Milano Sanremo, Ghent Wevelgem, and Paris Roubaix.
can you blame him? He's the one all year long. He's just like, you're taking all of our sprints away. Like, can't get any place to sprint anymore. Like Tour de France, yeah, and he has basically no way of winning any of the monuments as a sprint. It used to be, MSR every other year would be a bunch sprint, and now it's like few and far between that any of these races end with any kind of bunch sprint. So the biggest 1 day races. So you can't blame him.
No, and his thought process, what he was quoted as saying is that, I've won all the things in sprinting that I want to win. Now I want to win some other stuff that is on my target list.
Yeah, I mean that kind of puts him more squarely in like green jersey territory too.
Mm-hmm. Well, and here's the thing. Considering the field of sprinters that are out there right now, and there's some young talent coming up, and he's not a guy that's obviously getting any younger, like, it makes sense. It makes sense to not get lost in the mix because, who wants to be the dominant, you know what I mean? And what's smart for him is he's not going to limp out. Hopefully he doesn't end up limping out like some of these other big sprinters have limped out in recent years, where they come out of that window and they just do nothing.
Yeah.
So, I think that I think that it could be very good for him, and I'd love to see him win one of those races, like 100%. I would be all in for any of that.
Yeah. He's got to drop a little bit of weight, and he's got to start doing altitude camps and learning how to climb. I mean, we already know that he is more than capable of freelancing the finish of a race. He, had an incredible Palmares last season, with not a formidable lead out train.
Correct.
There's no one big name you can point out that was like his guy this year. And that's saying a lot. So if he can, get the kind of results that he got last year, in that situation, I have no reason to think that he couldn't transition into a more of an all-around, climby sprinter.
Absolutely.
He's not a big bulky guy. Like you don't look at, he doesn't read, all that bulky. I mean, certainly he's a sprinter, but I feel like he's got a physiology that would lend itself to a little bit of
I agree.
transitioning.
I agree.
I hope so. That would be cool.
Yeah. Well, and giving any of those guys, a run for their money in MSR would be, let's go. I'm all for it.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like the Red Bull Boro Hansgrohe mental health is good. because Remco went on record as saying, Primoz Roglic motivates me to look for the best version of myself. All right. New chapter, new wings. So, that's good news coming out of that camp. Considering how, seemingly toxic things were at Soudal for him and how much pressure was put on him, it sounds like, he's getting a breath of fresh air, and hopefully that translates to some success for the little bastard, as Garrett calls him.
And he's an international kind of a guy, and he he can't escape his Belgian-ness, but he can escape being on a Belgian team. He is now in a more Hollywood, a more higher end, just a bigger, flashier organization that lends itself to a guy like that. They're on paper committed behind him. And as we've learned about Primoz's schedule, Primoz is not doing the tour, right?
Correct.
So there's no conflict there. And so for him to come out with a tweet like that saying, shouting out the man, like it's all good signs.
Yes, I agree. I think it's all good signs. And he is, quote unquote, super happy. So, Lotta Kopecky has a new boyfriend.
Wait, I want one last thing.
Sure.
It's fun now that it's the new year to be on PCS and looking at some of these riders and like seeing Remco standing there in his Red Bull Bora jersey.
Well, if you scroll down if you go to my notes, I've got a bunch. I have a picture of him in his new Bora jersey. We'll go over that. We're going to go over some kits here. In fact, why don't we just do that? We'll come back to Lotta Kopecky. So I threw in pictures of some of the new kits that we have for this year. Starting with Little Trek's update, very similar to the one they had before, but
with Juan Ayuso sporting the silliest hair I've ever seen.
Yes, it's not a good haircut, but uniform looks on point.
It's cool. I don't know that I like it as much as last year's, but the color scheme is just so good. Just the red, blue, yellow is just like so good that I don't know. It looked a bit more classic last year, but I like it. I still like it.
And I'm not gonna lie, the Red Bull it's kind of growing on me. I don't know, like
I think it's ugly.
It's like that's my first, but it's like seeing Remco in it, man. I don't know. It gets me pumped. I don't know why.
There's downward chevrons on the lower portion of the jersey, just make it look like you have a fat belly.
I agree. That's the part that I have the biggest problem with, but the rest of it I like. Like from the logos up, I love it. It's from the logos down that I have a problem.
All right, let's talk about this next one.
This one is. I'm still the jury's still out on this. Ineos Grenadiers, their main color is going to like a more bright orange. Like
their main color is neon orange.
Yeah, I would call it
neon orange,
traffic cone orange.
Yeah, traffic cone orange. I love it. The Total Energies logo on the belly just looks like shit. Like, I'm sorry. Like, that logo is just ugly. Like, I don't know.
It's like they had to make it white so that they could put it on the jersey.
Yeah, it's just like I like the bold color. They will certainly be able to pick them out from the helicopter shots, but
yes.
Yeah. All right. What's next?
Next, you got Soudal. Soudal's got a little update. It's not much, not very different, but it's slightly different, a little more green throughout.
Yeah, but not really much.
And then the new NSN.
Yes, discussed at length on this podcast. Yes. Love that jersey.
And you get to see Biniam in it there.
What a stud! He looks like a badass in that picture.
Yes, he does. Okay, so Lotta Kopecky has a new boyfriend. One Axel Merckx.
Really?
Son of the GOAT Eddie Merckx.
That's going to be a pretty big. It's going to be a pretty big age difference.
I don't know.
Let's look up. Let's look it up. Lotta Kopecky is 30. Axel Merckx. Wait. He should be on PCS, right? Even if he's No, he's not. There's Eddie Merckx and that's it. That's the only Merckx on there. Let's find out.
Hold on.
Anyways, carry on.
So she is dating royalty. He's
Yeah,
50. He's 53 years old.
23-year difference. Wow. Interesting.
I
Okay,
mean, you want to talk about being in the spotlight, man.
Girl.
Like, you are really putting yourself in the spotlight there.
I like it. Axel Merckx and Axel Merckx is a very cool dude, by the way. I've heard interviews with that guy. He's cool. All right.
Okay.
More power to him.
So I have two more things. One's going to be much longer than the first one. Visma has signed Louis Barry, the young French talent. This is a huge signing for them. All right. This is a great get of a young French rider. It was like under wraps for a while, and we weren't sure if it was going to happen or not, but they officially announced it this week. Louis Barry going to Visma. Very good for that team. All right. Now,
Is he
go ahead.
is he like a GC guy? What's his
Specialty? I'm not 100% sure, but he is an up and coming Frenchman in the vein of a Paul Seychelles or a what's the donk that did all the sprinting, Paul Monnier. So
I'm looking at his season last year. He raced 70 days. Yeah, a lot of top tens in there.
yes, good
For
signing.
sure. A lot of top tens.
Well, and they had a lot of depletion over the course of the season with they have a lot, they lost a lot of riders. So refilling that stable with young talent, I am all for. All right, so the last thing, and I know this is going to dominate for a big portion of the conversation. A article came out this week detailing how the podium celebration for the Vuelta came together. So to recap, if you guys don't remember, the last stage of the Vuelta was completely dismantled by protesters. So there was no podium. All right. And later on in the evening, it seems the teams put together a makeshift podium at the hotel. All right. Well,
yeah, we discussed that on the show.
we did. But we didn't realize how cool it was and how Tom Pidcock's mother is the reason that it all happened.
Wow.
All right.
Crazy. So get into it.
All right.
Who
So
is she? How did she?
So Tom Pidcock's mother, Sonia Harper, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Got to give her a little bit there. She said, "All I wanted to do was to applaud and give my son a hug."
Wait, no, but tell us who she is. Like how is it that his Tom Pidcock? How is she related to this whole thing?
Well, I mean, Tom Pidcock's mother and father were both at the race. She is actually she organizes a race. She's involved in race organization already, but she was just there as a spectator. She wasn't involved in anything. She was just there supporting him because he was, he came in third in the Vuelta. And so when everything blew up that day, she felt really bad for the riders that they couldn't celebrate. So she literally was like, I want to put something together. I don't know how to do it. She went to the billionaire owner of Q36.5 and she was like, I can put it together, but I don't have the context to get, the contacts to get people involved. And he was like, I can help with that. And so the two of them, started putting all of this together. All right. I did snip a bit of this to read. All right. So this is just a portion of a much, much bigger article. So in the end, Sonia Pidcock was highly regarded as the main figure behind this ceremony, as she played a key role in organizing it as well as providing the initial idea. She believes Jonas Vingegaard was also aware of that at a certain point. I'd never met Jonas before, but when he got off the Visma bus in his kit, he was looking across the car park smiling at me. She recalls, I pointed him out to Giles. Giles Pidcock is Tom Pidcock's dad. And I realized that Jonas was probably the only mum-minded person there. Richard must have told him that it was Tom's mom's idea, and he was saying thank you to me. It was really lovely, really sweet. Phone calls were made to the race organizers who confirmed that someone was on their way with the trophies, jerseys, and podium backdrop, and they were promptly snarled in the congestion in the center of Madrid. They didn't even know if they would be able to make it past the protesters and get to us in time. Pidcock's mum came up with the contingency plan. If the Vuelta organizers couldn't make it, I suggested that we go to the hotel kitchen and make trophies out of tinfoil. So, it all stems from a Cycling Weekly article. I did link it in there. It is well worth the read. But essentially, what happened was she wanted to put this on, and so she just backwoods, made this whole thing come together.
It sounds like she talked to the Q36 guy.
He started calling team managers.
Pluga.
Yeah.
Pluga. So because Pluga's like he's the boss of the team that won.
Correct.
So he's like kind of the most important contact point. And then it sounds like all those guys just have all those other guys on speed dial, and within like minutes, every like team boss that needed to be there, all the 4 jersey winners, all the must haves are contacted. They're like, all right, we need a rendezvous point.
It's literally they literally set it up.
Jonas won. Let's go to Jonas's hotel.
Literally in that.
Can you be there?
They're in that hotel, so they have to get the whole UAE team to show up. All right, plus the 4 jersey winners, which is Jonas and Riccatello and Jonas, Riccatello, Mads Pedersen, thank you, and Jay Vine.
Yeah, Jay Vine.
And Jay Vine. So they have to get all of them. They used Team Visma's coolers. They wrote in Sharpie on them. They got an official backdrop. They had to figure out
for the podium.
Yes, and they put this whole thing together, and it's just this wonderful thing. Okay, that here's a mother who's just seeing the fact that like her son, all these kids just raced, 3 weeks. And they don't even get to celebrate the fact that they won. Like, these guys were literally in street clothes. They made them get back into their racing clothes to do this. Like, they were done. Like, nobody expected this. And, Tom Pidcock's mom, like, spearheads this whole thing and gets all these guys out there. And they end up having this celebration in the car park. And then...
Well, I like the fact that Pidcock didn't even win anything in this thing, but his mom was just watching it, and it's like she's saying to herself, like, Jonas's mom deserves to see her son on the podium for this thing, and she knows that Jonas is a family man, and I love the detail where Richard Pluga made it a point to tell Jonas, hey, by the way, the reason this is happening is because of Tom Pidcock's mom. So Jonas arrives at the thing and seeks her out to like thank her for doing that, because he's such a polite boy who has respect for moms.
Well, so and it's so neat. Like it goes into a lot more detail, but there's like, at one point they're losing the lights. So they like circled a bunch of cars around. And then they realized that once they put people in front of the cars, you couldn't see anything. But oh yeah, Jonas has a team of videographers that just follows him around. So they were like, "We got this," and
Let's
they put
light it
up,
boys.
they lit it up. Yeah, they lit it up, right? And I'm just like, this is so amazing. Now, it gave different context. So, and this is going to lead into my broom wagon, but Visma did a produced piece for their win at the Vuelta, and if you go to the very end, you get to see some of the behind the scenes stuff that happens, for this, and it's such a feel good moment, and it's one of the reasons why I love cycling so much is for just this type of stuff, that even in the face of adversity and just things not going as they should have, and obviously all this stuff's out of their control, that there's still such heart running through this sport, that something like this is put together and happens, and all these and all these pieces get involved, and it's very wonderful. I really 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 enjoyed reading the article. I highly recommend everybody go out and check it out.
Well, and it really, really serves as a tonic to what was playing out throughout the race. We have not mentioned on this episode yet, but the whole reason why all of this had to happen was because of the crazy amounts of protesting that were going on, not only on the final stage, but throughout the entire 3 weeks of the race. And on the final day into Madrid, like they literally canceled the race. I mean, the last day of the race just got canceled because there were just like so many people.
The stage.
So many people were amassing at the finish line that it became quickly apparent that like there's no way we can send a bike race through here. It is not going to happen. Race over. And I mean, it was surreal watching the whole thing. I tell you that Vuelta, when we're going back and looking back at like the races of the decade and stuff like that. That was an insane race. Like so many crazy things happened. I mean, just some wild stuff because of this protesting. I mean, it was cool that Jonas won and got his second of his three, completed all three Grand Tour situation. But like, wow, some wild stuff going on, and it's nice that we got this tonic at the end.
Yes, I agree.
Beautiful, beautiful little grassroots kind of spur of the moment situation that came together. That was just like so incredibly feel good.
Yeah, it was really
awesome.
It's really, really awesome. So highly recommend reading that article. It is very well done. On that note, we'll be right back to do a cyclocross style ride in the Broom Wagon. Stay with us. We're back. All right, Matt, let's get us started on the Broom Wagon. What do you got for us this week?
Okay, so on the most recent edition of the GCN Racing News Show, our boy Dan Lloyd, Low Rent Hugh Jackman, gave his hot takes for 2026. I want to quickly go through these hot takes, and I'm going to have you give me a yes or a no, and I'm going to fill them in, and we're going to see if we do better next year than Dan Lloyd. All right. So here we go. Right out the gate. His first one. Pog will win every race he enters in 2026 except MSR and Paris-Roubaix. What do you say? Yay or nay?
Yay.
You agree? I'm going to disagree with that one. Pauline Ferrand-Prévot will win Flanders and Liège-Bastogne-Liège.
I think she wins one, not both, so no.
I'm saying no as well. You said one, but not both. I'll put that in there. Number 3, Mads Pedersen will win Paris-Roubaix.
No.
I mean, remember, these are hot takes, but I would also say no. You know what? I'm saying yes on that one. What the heck? Anyway, all right. Jonas Vingegaard will win the Giro d'Italia.
Yes.
I like that as well. I'm going yes on that one. Juan Ayuso will podium the Tour de France. This is a good one.
Yes.
I'm going to say no. All right. Matty Brennan will win MSR.
No.
I love that take, though. He is totally capable of it.
Totally capable. I just don't see it happening.
I don't see it happening either. I'm saying no. And lastly, Matthew van der Poel will not win a monument in 2026.
I mean, only if he doesn't race in them.
So you're saying no.
I'm going to say no on that one.
I'm going to say no on that one as well. All right. That is it. We will circle back next year when Dan comes out with his hot takes, and we'll see how we did against him. What do you got?
So I wanted to shout out this Melissa Bikes YouTube channel because these guys are coming out with some of the best cycling content that you can get. If you are a fan of this team and you are not like subscribed to their YouTube channel, you are completely missing out. They have great interviews with their riders. They have the best produced pieces that you can put out, period. All right. They recap all of their wins. They recap pretty much everything that they're in at this point. It's super well done. It's super well produced. And
the production values are killer.
Yeah.
The photo quality is fantastic.
So ridiculous. I will shout out most recently A Day in the Life of a Pro Cyclist with Matteo Jorgensen. Very, very good. And then they did also debut their new kit this year for this year.
Leaning into the killer bees.
Yes. They got a very like bee stripe type thing across the belly there, which I really, really like.
Kind of cool.
And Rabobank is taking that where the Bet City logo was down the side. Okay. I wondered where they were going to come in on the jersey, but they're coming in.
Nothing will ever beat the placement, the armpit placement that they had a couple of years ago because they knew they'd be raising their arms so many times. Incredible. I think that was Bet City, actually. I think that logo was Bet City.
I think it was Bet City.
I also love that photo you put in there with like the 5 big hitters from that team. It's like Matteo, Wout, Jonas, Matty B, and Yates.
Yeah.
What a squad.
What a squad. So, and that is all for this week. Join us next week for a full recap of the Australian National Road Racing Championships. Until then, for my brother Matt, I'm Justin Harper. Thanks for listening. We hope you'll join us again soon for another ride on the team bus. Ale.
The Team Bus is a production of Harperama. Find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Please like and subscribe, smash that button, leave a 5-star review, and most importantly, tell all your friends about us. Thanks for listening. Talk to you next time. Ale!